It is 6:08 on Wednesday, February 26th, and this is Salim MuWakkil on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. You can also catch us streaming loud and clear by using iHeart apps on your smartphones or tablets, or by directing your browser to WVON.com. I greet you live from WVON's Xfinity Studios on yet another frigid evening in a seemingly endless winter of such evenings, but privileged once again to have the pleasure of connecting to America's most astute radio audience. Let me first express my appreciation to Brother Curtis Monday, who took over my radio duties last Wednesday. We did the Black Heritage Film thing. Many thanks to my brother. I heard, Brother Curtis, I heard you handled it as everyone expected. Let me also express appreciation to the congregation and Chief Pastor Bishop Jerry Jones Jr. of the Apostolic Assembly Church at 107 and Vincennes. And most of all, to the hard-working and talented Sister Linda Irving, who organized the Black History program for the church and who invited me to speak at their Black History commemoration last Sunday about the history of WVON, certainly an icon of Black history in Chicago. We had a very productive exchange, and I was impressed. However, I'm going to have to stay away from pulpits from now on. You know, as I was speaking to the congregation about WVON's storied past, I started using gestures that I don't usually use. You know, and then, I didn't realize it, but I guess I've observed so many black preachers and their performances. In my days as a journalist covering funerals and all that other stuff and other kind of faith-based affairs. Just really as a member of the clergy heavy black community in general, I never realized I had assimilated some of that behavior style till I caught myself getting down a little bit last Sunday in the pulpit. I almost didn't recognize myself. But I got to stay away from those pulpits. Who knows? Some sad news. Brother Chokwe Lumumba, longtime black nationalist, who amazingly was elected mayor of Jackson, Mississippi last June, has died. He was reported to have suffered a cardiac arrest on Tuesday night. I've been following Brother Chokwe for many years, from my days as an editor at Valerian News when I used to assign reporters to cover what he was doing with the Republic of New Africa, which he was a co-chair of. I think co-chair. He was one of the founders. Now, I was many who were surprised and inspired by his mayoral victory. It was just a mere thought that this brother who once headed the provisional government for the Republic of New Africa, and who helped found the Malcolm X grassroots movement, that he could actually become mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. That was something that was considered inconceivable at one point. But it happened, it happened. They worked it out. And from what I understand, Brother Chokwe was well on his way to forging a new future for Jackson. And he recently had passed a 1 cent sales tax that was designed to upgrade the city's infrastructure. The fact that they passed the tax in tax-phobic Mississippi was an incredible thing in itself. And it was all designed to help improve the crumbling infrastructure in Jackson. And that was considered a good sign that he had the confidence of the people behind him. They had trust in him. And it like he may be able to forge a new era. in that part of the world. Brother Chokwe had survived. He had survived a battle with prostate cancer many years ago, and he had weathered that storm. But I had also been hearing some reports that he was having some other kind of medical problems. He dropped out of a trial last summer because of those medical problems, for example. But he was keeping it close to his vest. He didn't want, those medical problems to upset this amazing opportunity that he had to actually implement some of the ideas, some of the more forward-thinking ideas that he had cultivated during his activist years. He actually had an opportunity to implement some of that as mayor of Jackson, and he had attracted a lot of folks. A lot of people were beginning to migrate to Jackson because they saw an opportunity to put into place some of these forward-thinking ideas. He was developing a think tank that would come up with different kinds of solutions. It was indeed an amazing opportunity. What a shame. What a shame. But hey, that's the way things happen. That crazy Boko Haram in Nigeria is up to its murderous tricks, fueling the fears of many other nations about the possibility of these Islamic killing hordes committing the same kind of atrocities that they're doing in Nigeria. The latest is that they killed 59 students in an attack on a boarding school in the northeast part of Nigeria. They allegedly shot and burned the male students and let the females escape as they urged them to reject Western education. That seems to be their modus operandi, and it's a terrible technique. I don't know where Boko Haram comes from. It seems like what they're doing is so outrageous, so inhumane, that they have to be funded by some group that wants to tarnish the expression of Islam. How could they possibly think that what they're doing is embellishing or enhancing the image of Islam in Nigeria? It's impossible for them to think that. So, I, like others, I'm very, very, very suspicious of Boko Haram. Very suspicious. But this African tragedy is reported in Nigeria along with the sad saga of what's going on in the Central African Republic. Another African tragedy that's sparked by sectarian conflicts. There is Christian and Muslim, just like in Nigeria. In the latest violence there, the Christian fighters reportedly have killed 70 people over a 2-day period earlier this month. A lot of UN observers are fearful of an Islamic genocide, a Muslim genocide in the Central African Republic, because Christian militia and vigilante groups are on the rampage, simply attacking these Muslim outposts at will, and there's really very little military force to deter them, other than the French. And the French have called for more troops to reinforce their forces because they're being overwhelmed by these masses of angry Christians. And we'll talk about this and get to the phones right after this. And we're back. Salim MuWakkil here on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. It's February 26th. 2 more days in this Black History Month. We should milk it for all it's worth. There's a lot of history that we have to find out, a lot of history that we got to understand. A lot of it is involving some of the stuff that I was just talking about, and how the continued raping of Africa goes on. That's part of our history as well. As, of course, the reason we're here, while there is Black American history, is because of the raping of Africa. That's still going on. We see that these kind of sectarian explosions that I was talking about in Nigeria and Uganda, well, not so much Uganda, but Sudan and the Central African Republic, they're rare. They've been on their increase for several years, and some cynics speculate that it's being provoked by Western powers, this Boko Haram thing that I was talking about. It seems inconceivable that there would be an indigenous group that does that kind of brutality and thinks that that's a heroic image. It looks clearly like some sort of provocateur, a group of provocateurs. And some folks think that, Western powers seeking justification for military involvement on the continent. That may be too cynical and too conspiratorial, but, there's some history of that. And commercial exploitation is what is the goal of both the West and the East, China. And the West has traditionally done it through military involvement, globalization with combat boots. This is in contrast to the Chinese who also, cover the natural resources of Africa, but they've adopted another method, rather than roughing it off through military might, they're making infrastructure deals with African regimes for access to their resources. That's a troubling development on the continent, the mother continent. A lot of critics say that there's no need for outside agitators. There's just general dysfunction on the continent of Africa, and that makes it vulnerable to all kinds of manipulation and troublemaking. The Africans have to get it together first before things can change. So that's what's going on that continent. On the Eurasian continent, in Asia, I guess you would have to say, the Afghan president continues to refuse to sign a deal getting the United States out of that country. The United States wants to stay, but Karzai won't sign the deal. And if he doesn't sign the deal, then the United States can't do its regular kind of withdrawal schedule because they don't know what the final outcome will be. So it's a kind of an impasse right now. But today the president said announced that he was ordering a new contingency plan for a total withdrawal of all troops by the end of 2014. That's a radical, direction that the White House is talking about. Apparently, they're trying to, startle Karzai into finally doing something, or convince his replacement after the election that signing the deal is the only way to go. Anyway, it's a complex and conflicting situation. There's much more, but I'll ease up and open up the phones for you to weigh in. Let's go to BJ. Hey, BJ, how you doing?
Hey, Salim, indeed you are deep. Not only deeper than Lake Michigan, deeper than some oceans, man.
Okay.
Oh, man. Hey, listen, I haven't been well over the last few months because I got a strep throat. I encourage everybody in this really cold weather. Mm-hmm. People told me you need to keep the cold air from going in your ears and in your mouth. And when the night I went out to a pair when Al Sharpton was in town, I ended up coming back, and I had to walk a long ways waiting on a bus. And I got a lot of cold air blowing in my nose and my ear, and I ended up with a strep throat. And the doctor didn't properly diagnose it, so I went to bad sinuses. It was really, really bad. But listen, this is the good news, Salim.
How you doing now, man? You all right?
I'm doing great now. But what happened, and people would if you go to a doctor and you don't get good results, go back right away or get another opinion because they gave me antibiotics. I was tested positive for strep December 3rd. She gave me antibiotics, amoxicillin. That didn't work. I took that. Didn't work. Come back in January. She gave me penicillin. I'm still suffering. It's getting worse and worse. The mucus building up. So I went back in February, and she realized that the problem with mucus was coming from infected sinuses. She gave me medicine for that and a powerful antibiotic, and that basically cured it up. But only during the last week have I really been feeling great. But let me just say this, Salim. Man, I'm going to tell you something. I do believe in this, okay? I believe in the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, and I know also that there's spirits of good, there's spirits of evil, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what it is, Satan is real, and there's an acronym that goes SCUD. Satan could use distractions. One problem in the city, in the world, and the continent of Africa is people get distracted. But, Saddam Hussein shot these Scud missiles at people, right? Okay. We get a lot of that. You get confused. And then I said, heads up to Brother James. I'm going to share some wisdom. As Manson was, I'm going to drop some wisdom on Brother James, okay? Brother James had a miracle happen in his life. Somebody tried to throw a rope around his brother, and he figured that the guy would have drugged his brother and killed him. He came from Alabama. He said, fortunately, the rope missed, but as he said, his brother never got over it. And this racist white supremacists, they want to kill all of us. Here's the thing. That was a miracle when that rope missed him. However, here's some revelation knowledge, okay? Maybe he wanted to grab him and make him a slave for 12 years, not necessarily kill him. You see what I mean? Maybe he would have been 12 years a slave, okay? But here's the thing. James we all need to have faith in God and pray for peace and pray for more than that, revelation knowledge, so we can be blessed. Let me say this also. You're talking about your friend down in Jackson, Mississippi, Salim?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Salim?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. You know what? Is this saying 6 degrees of separation or 7 degrees of separation? Is that little term in
7%, 7 degrees of separation.
7 degrees of separation. Let me tell you something. My mother went to school on Highway 49. The school is just north of Jackson, Mississippi, okay, as a girl. It's called Pineywood Country Life School, okay? It was there back when they freed the slaves.
Yes, sir.
And it's still there, okay? But you know what? Another thing.
All right, brother. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, brother. We got to take a break. BJ, thanks for the call, man. All right. We'll be right back. All right. Brother John blowing it. Go ahead. Yes, sir. We're talking about Africa and some of the problems with sectarian violence. There's also a problem, or some would say not a problem, but the international community thinks it is a problem. Uganda just signed, the president of Uganda just signed a bill that brings harsh measures against gay and lesbian people in Uganda. Homosexuality was already prohibited by law in Uganda, but this new law that was recently signed by President Museveni, criminalizes, it goes further by criminalizing all positive talk of homosexuality, and it criminalizes failing to report gay people to authorities. Lesbians are included in the new prohibition for the first time. The use of capital punishment for homosexual acts was originally put forward in the bill, but it was withdrawn after an amazing global cry. Yet, the new bill still threatens those convicted for the first time with a 14-year prison sentence, along with a life sentence for any acts of, quote, aggravated homosexuality. That's pretty strong. And it was passed, it was signed by Museveni despite warnings from the president to be cool, to not do that. But, of course, that warning provoked a very defensive response from a lot of folks in Uganda. Say, wait a minute, Wes, how dare you tell us how to conduct our moral behavior? In Nigeria, also, 2 months ago, a similar bill passed. And it's likely that other nations, in fact, and in most nations, I think 34 of all of the 54 African nations have anti-homosexuality provisions. So, hey, it's rough for gay folks on the mother continent. We've had some very strident debates on my Facebook page about that. A lot of folks are cheering Uganda on. Say, go ahead, man. Y'all are showing the West that they can't push you around, and sticking up for the way things should be, natural morality, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, there's a religious component, because much of what's going on in Uganda was prompted by Christian evangelicals, Western evangelicals, who have been flooding Uganda in recent years. So there are some who are blaming it all on these evangelicals who have promoted it. But no, I mean, I don't think that's fair. I mean, I'm sure that these evangelicals see a fertile field and are trying to get what they can and push their doctrine as far as it can go. But it is a very fertile field, no doubt about it. Just as it would be in let's say, parts of South America, the more agrarian and rural parts of South America, and Asia. We saw, in fact, what happened in Russia, which is not so, not as agrarian and as undeveloped as these other areas, but yet they also have laws against homosexuality. So hey, it's a struggle. It will be interesting to see how it goes. To the phones we go. Kaylin, hey now. Hey, Kaylin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Salim. How are you this evening?
I'm well, man. I'm well. How you doing?
Okay. On our Aaron Burnett show on Monday, this jerk rocker, Ted Nugent, called the president a mongrel.
He had done that before, I think. But I think that he was apologizing, and she had him on to explain his apology.
Well, sincerely, I don't think so. I think he meant what he said with that.
Yeah, well, he didn't. You're right. I think so too. And his apology was phony as well.
Yeah, he called him a communist and Solinsky, power and all that.
Yes.
So he says the president he's disrespecting the office, really.
Yes, he is.
In general, like it's. I'm saying, why do they let that man on the program anyway?
That is a good question, Kaylin. It really is, man. After you call someone a half breed, what was it? A half breed, a low life
half breed, a mongrel.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty low, man. And I don't think even a president, even if you're trying to criticize a president, I don't think people call Bush a lot of things, but I don't think they went to that level on him. At least publicly. So yeah, that is a pretty outrageous kind of thing to say.
He's from Detroit too. He had the nerve to be from Detroit too.
Yeah. Well, a lot of very racist white folk come from areas of urban America that which was once abutted by black communities. There's a lot of animosity among folks who had to leave cities because black people came in and ran to the suburbs. And he had the nerve
to be a peace officer in the suburbs of Detroit too. He was a peace officer.
Well, that's almost the same as slave catcher. You know where that's coming from, right?
Oh yeah, I know where that's coming from. Yes. And as for let's talk about Howard Morgan. The appellate court in Illinois denied his quest for a new trial. And it should go up to the Illinois State Supreme Court. I think the black community should get together and say, get this man out of prison.
Yes, sir. I agree, brother.
Put pressure on Quinn or the legislators down in Springfield or wherever. This man was railroaded again and shot 28 times.
I heard Bomani Obadeli make a point, I think, was probably the most cogent when he said that we should really focus on Governor Quinn, because Quinn can actually pardon him, and that would be an unequivocal vindication for the brother. I think that would be, a very productive.
If Quinn pardoned him, he should go after those police officers for civil rights violation, and Eric Holder should get those police officers and charge them with civil rights violation. Yes, anyway, they should be charged. They should be charged.
I agree.
They violated that man's civil rights.
Absolutely, my brother. Yes, sir.
And with that, Salim, I'll let you go.
All right, Kaylin. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, brother.
All right, then.
All right. Yeah, the Howard Morgan case. Yeah, and I heard Brother Crump on Matt's show today talking about it, which is good news. Good news. We're going to come back with some more good news and maybe some bad news. right after we listen to the beautiful tones of Sister Robin Lewis. And we're back. 6:52. Salim MuWakkil here on the Talk of Chicago. I was talking about Africa, the anti-gay bill in Uganda. Well, there's also, it's not just Africa, folks. Arizona, and the state that was famous for resisting the Martin Luther King holiday and provoked the Public Enemy song. By the time I get to Arizona, and as now trying to resist this kind of new mood in this country that is more accepting of gender and sexual flexibility. Governor Jan Brewer is weighing whether or not to sign this bill. I think it's one of the poll questions, the VON poll questions. The bill actually is, allows for people who have religious objections to certain things to be able to exercise those objections and prevent folks from patronizing their businesses if that's what they want, or living in their apartments if that's what they want. It's a pretty serious thing. It's what the South tried to do in resisting some civil rights bills in our history. Let's go to the phones, find out what's on your mind. George, good evening.
How you doing, Salim?
I'm good. How you?
Oh, great, man.
All right.
Funny you mentioned that. That was going to be one of the things I was just going to say. But I'll tell you one thing, though. She'll be messing up if she passed that bill, because they'll lose the Super Bowl next year. And I think that Super Bowl is pretty powerful. Yeah,
I think you're right, brother. They lost it one year when they rejected the Martin Luther King thing.
Right, exactly. And I don't know if they can afford it again. But man, I tell you something. I know a lot of the businesses don't think they can. That's for sure. Right, exactly. What do you think about the Supreme Court and their thing about a police can search without a warrant if one of the persons complies? Isn't that something?
Yeah, man. I think this court, this right wing court, man, is a danger to all Americans, and
oh, man.
That's why that's one of the major reasons why it was so important to elect Obama.
Exactly.
Because if there's another vacancy, man, he's got to act. He's got to act to put somebody in there to stop the way
police
the
state. Man.
Yeah, exactly, bro.
It's crazy. Funny, Angela Davis is supposed to have a program coming on tonight. Not her, but Free Angela Davis and All Political Prisoners.
Oh yeah. On what station?
BET.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to come on about 10 o'clock or late.
What's the name of the program?
Free Angela Davis and All Political Prisoners.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I have to check that out.
Oh, man, for real, because there still are, a lot of political prisoners still in jail from the 60s, man.
Exactly. Exactly, man. I listened to you Monday, but I couldn't get through when you fellows were talking.
Yes, sir.
On the show.
Uh-huh.
The guy was actually right, Muhammad Ali did have a son.
Yes, he did. I found out. I did a little research myself and found out that he does have a son.
Right, and he's about 41 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing, though, I used to have a friend who used to live in Flossmoor.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably a chip off the old block, because she used to try to keep her daughter away from him.
Oh, really? Is that right?
Yeah, he was sweet on her daughter. So I said, boy, he's like Ali's father and Ali. They were deaf on the lady.
It's really something, though, brother. I had not heard much about him. When I researched him, it seemed to spark a little memory of it, but he has really been obscured.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah.
I think purposely obscured, and I think that his parents are mad at Ali's third wife, because they said that she was the one who tried to diminish his stature.
Yeah, it could be. I tell you one interesting thing about it. I don't know if this source I got is correct, but he was born in May of 1972. That puts him about 41 years old. And the ironic thing is he was born the same date as one of Ali's girlfriends. That's wild.
Check that out.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, brother. That's yes, sir.
Yeah.
Did you see the film, incidentally?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, definitely. It was. I think it was good. You know, like I said, the guy was, small thing, but that was small potatoes. But like I said, Ali was just so popular because he was against the war, and that was a big thing back then, man. Anybody against the war, because I tell you.
Yeah, but I mean, he was an athlete. A lot of people don't remember this, and I think this is a good thing that I think Maceo brought up in the aftermath of the film, that Robeson was really the last significant American athlete who had made some sort of political statement, some sort of transcending statement, and Ali did it, but he was in the company of other athletes at the time who were radical as well. The Jim Brown and even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at the time, and some other brothers had gotten together and made some radical statements.
Oh, definitely. As a matter of fact, I saw Jim Brown talking about it because he was saying that he wouldn't have Kobe in his group, Bobby Mitchell and the fellas, the group of them.
Well, Bobby Mitchell was something. That was a running brother, wasn't it?
Oh,
do you remember those days, man? Are you of the age to remember Bobby Mitchell when he was with the Redskins?
Of course. Well, I remember Bobby Mitchell when he was with Illinois, and I was at Soldiers Field in Chicago. They used to have a college all-star game.
I just made a mistake. I said that the name of that team. I should never say the name of that team. That's a slur.
Oh, yeah.
But he was one of the first black folks to even get hired by the Washington team.
That's right. That's right. Exactly, because they was really a racist team.
For real.
Washington team.
Yes, sir.
But Bobby Mitchell actually beat the Detroit Lions, and I think the year was 1958.
Oh, bro, you doing it? Hey, George, thank you, man. Gotta go. Talk to you soon. All right. Peace. We will be back right after this. And we're back. 707 on the Talk of Chicago, 1690. Salim MuWakkil here, and we are going to go right back to the phones. Incidentally, as you heard, if you were listening to the news, Governor Brewer did veto that bill, that so-called religious freedom bill. Many people predicted that she had no choice, really. The business community was too dead set against it. It would have been too costly for the state of Arizona to do it. Of course, that only intensifies the fervor of those who were against it, because they say, of course, you can't put a cost on morality. You can't put a price on morality, and that's what Governor Brewer appears to be doing. They say, they argue. So it goes on. This is what I've just been talking about are some of the responses, some of the reactions to these new liberal attitudes about homosexuality. That's an unusual thing. Most of the world is still they still feel that homosexuality is errant behavior. It's something unusual and should not be encouraged. Much of the world feels this. Only pockets of the industrialized, advanced world have come to the point where they can accept homosexuality with the kind of cultural equality and equanimity, even that is being demonstrated. Other cultures haven't gotten to that point yet. They haven't gotten there, and we see they're resenting folks trying to push them into that position, and so they're reacting strongly against that ostensible pressure. I think that is what accounts for Nigeria and Uganda acting so strongly. Because of that, they perceive this pressure so strong against them. Okay, let's go to the phone. Sadiqi, my brother. Yes, sir. How are you? Hotep.
Yes, sir. Hotep. How you feel?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Yeah, look, I'm calling about this whole homosexual thing. Now, I've been called homophobic, and I tell people, that's a hate type situation, and I don't hate anybody. But I basically am against the lifestyle. And let me just say that when they talk about these Christian folks that went to the continent, I don't agree with that. I believe that the bottom line is that the homosexual lifestyle is a violation of our African value system that goes back probably 1,000 years from my perspective, and that this is not something that is new. I know, like, when I was a child, the adults didn't go around lambasting the folks that they knew. Well, back then, if you were gay, we were just happy. But if you were homosexual, I didn't hear a lot of that talk. But my friends and I, we always knew something was not right about it. It just seemed like it was innate or instinctive, if you will. Mm-hmm. So for those, I personally believe that the gay lobby is very, very dangerous, not along the lines of Planned Parenthood, but I would include it within the realm of the genocide world, if you will.
Well, why is that? Why is that, Sadiqi? Why do you think that's so dangerous?
Well, because of the fact that just being out here and seeing the attitudes, particularly of our young people, and readily accepting this value, because this lobby is powerful. This gay lobby is powerful.
Well, no, you said instant. Before we go to there, and I do want to hit that. But you said earlier it was something instinctual or inbred. Is that what you said? That it seemed like you knew something was wrong. It seemed like it was instinctual. Or?
I think that my African value system was what was telling me that, something's not normal about this.
I got you.
A man being with a man, a woman being with a woman.
Well, no, it's not. It doesn't have to be African. Everything tells you that, right? This whole society is basically heterosexually oriented, wouldn't you say?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I'm just saying that I don't believe it's because of these folks who have gone over these white Christians speaking against. I don't believe that that's what's going on with all these African countries. I think that it's something that's been there with us for thousands of years.
No, I agree with that. I agree.
And that the bottom line is that we cannot buy into that lifestyle. I'm not saying that we should hate anybody, but I think it works against us. They just came up with a result in terms.
So do you think that that homosexuality is something that people just choose to do, or do you think it is instinctual or something that is inherent?
I can't make that call. I seemingly would be a judgment call for someone, but I can't make that call. I just think that it's dangerous for us to move in the direction that we are in terms of accepting that lifestyle. It's in our schools. I see these young people out here now, these young ladies walking arm in arm, and I still.
Oh man, you're talking about arm in arm. I don't know if you, brother Sadiqi, you've been to Africa, right?
Haven't been there, bro. That's my goal.
Well, brother, man, that's one of the first things that strikes you, especially in East Africa, is the way the brothers walk arm in arm. That when we first got off the plane, a lot of folks were joking at the time. Dang, man, we thought the homeland was not favorable to homosexuality, but it looks like it is. But of course, walking arm in arm is not construed as a gesture of homosexuality in those African cultures.
I'm just talking about, you can tell when
it's fraternal,
these young people, they feel like they're in a relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I'm just saying that we have to be very careful, because I think that in some ways it's like sexual eugenics, vis-a-vis Planned Parenthood.
So you think, Sadiqi, do you think that people who are not disposed toward homosexuality can be convinced to go that way? Is that what your fear is?
Did you say my fear?
Or your concern? Is that your concern?
I'm concerned that accepting that lifestyle goes against the grain of the norm, particularly in terms of the future of our race.
But so what's the threat then? If it goes against the norm, then the norm would be for us to do what we do normally. Well, what's the threat if it goes against the norm? I put it along the same lines in terms, like two men or two women can't produce a child.
And so what I'm saying is that when you have the eugenics and the Planned Parenthood, like I think they announced in New York that they had more abortions there last year than births of black babies. And so I consider, I don't put it on that level, but everything contributes to depopulation when it comes to black people all across the world. We have to be careful.
Oh, okay. So you think, so your concern is the fact that it may aid in the depopulation of African people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And let me close very quickly. I don't know if you mentioned it. I just want to give props to Brother Chokwe Lumumba.
Yes, sir.
Who passed away?
Yeah, I did mention it.
Oh, I figured you did because I get a little bit late, but that was a great brother, and he's going to be sorely missed.
Was he a great brother, for real? And the opportunity is so amazing that he had down there. That's why it really is such a loss for him.
The first thing I asked him was, did they kill him?
Yeah, I know that was a lot of folks came to that conclusion immediately,
yes,
But he was sick. He was sick, and a lot of folks who know him say, and his in the last few months he has been exhibiting some
I see.
some signs of being weaker. So yeah. All right, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate
it. Brother Salim. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, brother. Brother Sadiki explaining why, and this is another reason. There's not simply it's not simply a religious-based animosity toward homosexuality that some brothers have against it, or some folks have against it. It is, and as Larry, the conservative who calls here frequently from Georgia, he has a more social objection, a more sociological objection, a cultural objection, I guess you would say. It disrupts the nuclear family oriented cultural orientation of Eurocentric family. That's Larry's objection. That's a legitimate objection. I mean that has some logic to it. And brother Sadiki objects because of its depopulation implications for African people, that we need as much impetus for population as we can get, because the goal of the white supremacists is to diminish our population any way they can. And if they can encourage homosexuality, that takes other people, that takes heterosexual coupling down a notch, and that makes fewer black people. And so that's his reasoning. Okay, back to the phones we go. Brother Maceo, hey, how you doing, my brother?
Hey, Salim, I'm doing great. And yourself?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well.
All right. Good evening to your WVON listeners, and hello to my friend Albert. Salim.
Albert, yes,
yes,
sir.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
Master musician.
Oh, my gosh. Master musician, and he's he worked with Dr. Fulton,
Yes.
And so herbalist, very deep. You're talking about, he's deep too. He really is. And so if you're listening, Brother Albert, I'm talking about you in a great way, because you're a great man. I appreciate you. Salim, you were talking about Bobby Mitchell.
Yes, sir.
I've never really seen any clips of him, in terms of him playing or anything like that, but I know that group, that National Industrial Industrial Economic Union, Negro Industrial Economic Union, those guys were intrepid. Those guys, as you were saying, Lou Alcindor and Jim Brown, and especially Bill Russell. Mm-hmm. Bill Russell must have came out of the womb a maverick. Because at the University of San Francisco, he was his own man, and then when he came to the Celtics, have you ever read his book, Russell Rules?
I haven't read the book, no, but I kind of got the spirit of the book from listening to a lot of people talk about it.
Oh man, but when just this one episode in that book, where he's a rookie and he's coming to the Celtics used to have a tradition of when they came off the floor after a timeout to stand up, and he went and sat down. And because, Red Auerbach was trying everybody else at his position, and they were failing, and he wasn't really pleased about that, and a rookie. But anyway, I'm just saying that wow, what a intrepid group of guys.
Yeah, it was an unusual, and we see how unusual they were, because there haven't been anything that have replicated that since.
Absolutely, and I would say the closest to that is Ray Allen has Ray Allen is somewhat like that. He may seem subdued, but very passionate about our history, and I am sure that it's either he or Dwayne Wade or a combination of the three, LeBron James, that were essentially on the case when about the Trayvon Martin thing, because they really they put themselves forth as a team, and so it's either between the three of them or all three of them that really were the catalyst behind that. In terms of Jan Brewer, Jan Brewer, she had some problems before, when she was talking about removing certain passages of the history from the history book. You remember that?
Oh yeah, they've already taken African American studies out of school in Arizona, and Latino studies.
Really?
Yeah, they've taken that out. You can't have a course that specifies any specific ethnic or racial group in Arizona. It has to be kind of an inclusive kind of curriculum.
Yeah, because you remember there was a big thing, an article in a news conference and all that kind of stuff, or essentially an article where she was talking about how it would be demeaning to the white children,
right,
for the books to talk about history in a disparaging way. History is history, and it should be taught that way. But I'm just saying that to say that, this woman is really, bad news in terms of, her outlook on things about any type of, ethnicities and stuff like that. And so she's not really sensitive to any of that.
No, but apparently she's sensitive to business interests because she vetoed this bill. But the point is that it was a bill, that it made it to her desk. So that means that the Arizona populace, the electorate of Arizona, is pretty much in that mindset as well, and that's the issue. What's up with the mindset of those folks? Just like with the Martin Luther King thing, it was an expression of the state legislature not to be forthcoming when acknowledging Dr. King's birthday. So the state has its own problems, the electorate.
Mm-hmm.
That whole area, man, that whole area of the country, is really the thing that's pretty amazing, man, when you drill down into it, is just how diverse this country is in its political leanings. There really is a distinct difference between the political leanings of folks in the Midwest and the Northeast than there are in the South and in the West.
Oh, absolutely. She typifies that,
yes,
that distinction, in the South, and she really embodies, a lot of those Southern states' mindsets.
Yes, you're exactly right, man. And it is kind of a neo-Confederate kind of thing going on,
Sure.
That whole, as you've talked about in the past as well. That it is kind of a Confederacy redux. We're going back to it.
Oh, and just like we both talked about this too, in terms of after post-Reconstruction, when whites wanted to take back over, and they did take back over, the states, and made a state rule and stuff like that, white supremacy rule. Which was a direct contradiction against the 14th Amendment, and even and I've spoken about this before, the Jim Crow, Plessy versus Ferguson, was an absolute defiance or contradiction, encroachment upon the 14th Amendment, because you can't abridge, according to the 14th Amendment, you can't abridge, you can't diminish citizens' rights.
Right.
And the state can't do that either. But anyway, lastly, Salim, and this is last week of Black History Month, I've been doing some real deep research on City Councilman, Congressman Oscar Stanton Dupree. And man, was he some type of person. You know his history, right?
I know a little bit of it, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just cite one thing? I know
go
his birthday is coming up on the 9th, and I'll say more about it. But, you know, the riot of 1919, July 27, 1919, when the young African-American boy, Eugene Williams, he floated over to the white side of the lake, you know, with this imaginary land, and this guy named George Stolbert hit him in the head with a rock, and he drowned. And the police did nothing. And then, our ancestors, they went after this police officer, Callahan, and then the riot was on. But the thing about Oscar Dupree is that, you know, there were a lot of our people working over at the stock market at that time. That's not the stock market, but the stockyard.
He's often called Oscar Dupriest.
Yeah, Oscar Dupriest, yes. Uh-huh. But there were a lot of our people working at the stockyards, and you know the riot had spread throughout the city, and there's a mob going over there to do them harm. What he did is he donned a police uniform. He got one of the wagons, which was a horse-drawn wagon at that time, police wagon. He went back several times to clear, you know, the stockyards out, to rescue our, people from the stockyards. But that's just a little bit of what this man was all about. But anyway, thank you for allowing me to talk a little bit about him.
All right, Monsieur. Thank you, brother.
A giant. He's a giant, I'm telling you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. He was the first congressman post-Reconstruction in this country. It came from Illinois. It was him.
That's right. In the north, they're the first northern congressman and the first city councilman here. Second Ward, and then ultimately the Third Ward alderman too.
Yes.
So powerful man.
Indeed. Thank you, brother.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Oscar Dupriest. It's good that we know who he was. He's an important linchpin. Brother Sambini. Hey, my brother. How are you, sir?
Reverend Salim MuWakkil.
Woo. Go ahead. I'm telling you, man. I couldn't believe it, brother. I said, I was employing gestures, man, that I didn't know was in my repertoire.
Do I need to start worrying?
Hey, are you a reverend? Are you? Have you taken to the pulpit, brother?
I'm wondering if you are. I don't know. I was waiting to get in.
Okay. I thought you were. Looking at me as competition. But you just
no, sir.
You just don't want me to be a Christian. You think if I it would be like I'm defecting or something, right?
I just thought that as I was waiting to get on, you was going to do one of those Esther Anderson, "High glory, thank you, Lord." You know.
Oh, you really? Yeah.
Yeah, because you said I said, man, Salim going to a church giving an address.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, it was history of WVON. That's what it was.
Okay,
but I got excited, brother, when I was thinking about the struggles that this magnificent station has gone through over those years. You know.
Okay, in honor of that, I'm just going to put something out and see what you think about it before I go on.
Okay.
And I know you don't like to deal with religious topics, but I'm just putting the first two sentences, verses of the Bible, and framing it in the question that I already know the answer to. How is it that in the first verse, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, period, which normally means a sentence ends, but then the next verse starts with an and, which normally means that it's continuing. So, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was void and without form. How in the world could it be void and without form in the second verse when he created it in the first verse?
Now, see, you're asking me these very enigmatic questions.
You just should have said counsel is leading the witness, and I would have left it alone. Salim,
quite frankly, I think in a lot of ways, man, we misinterpret what Scripture is all about. Scripture is not trying to be logical. In fact, that is trying to undermine logic. But that's another thing. All right, go ahead, brother. What were you saying?
Well, I do my best not to interpret, but your comment is right, because there's so many interpretations, and then if you look at so many ministers and so many cardinals, and on top of those interpretations, so
that's right. Bro.
But my sister, she and I were discussing the Bible, and she tried to get me to interpret it, and I told her I'm not a reverend, and I said if you want an interpretation, ask them, because I never ask reverends and bishops questions because they will answer it, even when they don't know the answer. Salim, I was looking at a special on the Bounce channel, and it seemed to have focused on James Farmer, and I think this has been. Yes. I think this has been going on for 50 years. I'm saying 50 years because I'll be 54 Monday.
Oh.
And I
only
begin with 1960 and go forward. I'm not going to try to debate about what happened before. But James Farmer said that he did not want to give Malcolm a platform. He said he would study him. He wouldn't try to debate him, because he saw what Malcolm X did to people who would debate him. He said he studied him, and then he would put him on Front Street by asking him, well, what do we do now? What's the solution? And see, that's why I maintain that that's always a set-up question when people ask, what's the solution? What do we do now?
Yeah,
and so I said to myself,
that's a good point, brother. It really is, man, because that is exactly right, man.
And I said to myself, that's petty. And see, that's been going on for, I'm just saying, 50 years, where someone would do that, where I would look at Muhammad Ali, the whole story, both DVDs I have, and Jackie Robinson comes on talking, wow, I think Cassius is hurt. He did that on purpose, calling him Cassius. He's hurting the morale of the soldiers. And then Joe Louis said similar things, and then the verbal thing with Ernie Terrell.
Yes. All of that was in Trials of Muhammad Ali, by the way.
Well, I missed that.
Sorry,
and I need to talk to you privately because someone is spreading rumors about you relative to the Trials of Muhammad Ali.
Oh, really?
And I don't want to put it on the air. I don't think it's true, and the person who's doing it is suspect. But I just want to get your thoughts on it. But anyway, what I'm saying is, it seems like so-called black people keep finding ways to divide themselves, even as they speak on being unified. So I look at that issue with James Farmer. I look at the issue with Ernie Terrell and Floyd Patterson, what they said about Muhammad Ali. And that was in the 60s. And then when I listened to talk radio stations, not just this one, I hear that over and over again on talk radio stations, people playing what I call point-counterpoint and feeling the need to come against someone's comment when I don't think that's why they called into the station in the first place, because they had no idea of knowing whether the person that's made the initial comment was on the air. You see what I'm saying? And so I said to myself, maybe that's why so-called black people can't do anything substantial, or it seems as though they can't do anything substantial, because they keep going at each other like that.
I think that's exactly right. Going at each other like we do is the reason.
Yes.
And it's hard not to, because we've been socialized so deeply into taking, into creating conflict, man, when there isn't even conflict.
Yes, and so that's why I don't do it anymore, because I have to say, I in the past, I've been guilty of it too, but I had to listen to my whole collection of cassettes from WVON, and I had to stop saying we and us and our.
Yes,
lastly, Salim, have you ever seen the DVD Ma'afa, Black Genocide in the 21st Century?
I've seen one DVD. I don't know if it's the same. It is called Ma'afa, but I don't know if it has that subtitle.
Well, it's tough to watch, and the crew at Flex Coffee is going to show it this Saturday. I don't know if they're going to discuss it. I talked with the owner because it's 2.5 hours, and see the way the discussion club that I started works is the people who come out to the discussion, they view or read whatever we're going to discuss before coming. That way it gives us more time to, discuss things. But it deals with Planned Parenthood, the eugenics movement.
Okay.
People like Lothrop started, Ernst Rudin, Margaret Sanger,
and
Faye
what
Waddington.
Sadiki was talking about a little bit earlier, right?
What was that?
A little bit about what Sadiki was talking about earlier tonight.
Yes, because I think he made a point. But it's tragic in how, according to the DVD, black people were sterilized as young as 8, Salim. And my mother used to tell me that wherever there's a problem, if you look hard enough, there's also an opportunity. And she gave me an example. She said, you know how people say that young black girls are having too many babies? She said, now, we're not going to argue whether that's true or not. Let's assume that it's true. And then the opportunity would be to provide what the babies that they're having need, the baby buggies, the baby booties, the baby food. So it got hot. It got heated up in here when we were discussing the Ma'afa DVD, because there were women who feel, that they have the right to do whatever. You mean
abortion?
Yes.
Right. That is that it's their body.
Yes.
That how dare you tell women what to do with their bodies?
But wait a minute now. Then another comment that's said a lot by the feminists or women or whatever is, my decision for an abortion is up to me, my doctor, and my God. It cuts the father of the child out.
That's
and
true.
When I brought that up, this women just got even more angry. So I just did what I call a setup. I maintain that reproductive rights, pro-choice, is nothing but a euphemism for abortion. When I said that, they jumped on me with all. So I said, okay. I changed my mind. I'm pro-choice. So the young lady said, oh, zucchini, this is big news. You're pro-choice. I said, I've always been pro-choice. I choose life. She said, but that's not choice. I said, I know. Gotcha. Just like I said, it's a euphemism. What she went on to explain is that, in so many words, that you have to abort the baby. And that's what I said in the beginning, that it's nothing but a euphemism for abortion. And the only opportunity out of it is, to me, there wouldn't have been a need for an equal rights movement, and if men weren't treating women so bad.
All right, my brother. Thank you, Sambini. Appreciate it. All right. That's one view of things. Let's go to Mr. Wells. Good evening, my brother. Hotep. How you doing? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How you doing, Salim?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Hey, Salim, I'm well. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
You got $10 in your pocket. Is it in your pocket? You got any money on you? Real talk, do you?
Yeah. I got $10 in my pocket. Yes, sir.
You got $10 in your pocket?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, do me a favor. Take the money out and put it in front of you.
No, sir. Come on, man. What's up? What you want? I don't.
Well, I'm making a point here. I'm just showing an example, but you went as far as you could go, and that's all right. Now, you knew you had the $10 in your pocket, right? Before I asked you that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I asked you about the $10. The point being, I was going to make a point. I hear a lot of my brothers, I don't know what their belief systems are, they get confused about things being spoken into existence in the writings that are esoteric, and then they take it as being decisively accurate. And it is in the explanation. However, and I just do this for some of my brothers out there, and I know we got a range of West African animists and Central and Commissions, and we got agnostics and this, that, and the other. And the Israelite rendering, and this is not any other belief system, things are created at a spiritual, transcendental, and physical level. And therefore, in the scriptures, when you read something that seems to presuppose itself or make a paradox, that's the spiritual, then the transcendental, then the physical. But it is written in literate form for you to read, to comprehend. And that's what I think when I tell brothers, if you don't practice the belief system, the commentary is going to fall off and there's going to be a deficit. There's going to be some miscomprehension. I never tell a brother about his Islam because I don't practice Islam. I read enough about Islam to have knowledge and comprehension. I don't practice it, though. Even the Ifa community, any belief system, if I can read it, I can understand it and build my knowledge base and have comprehension. But I don't practice it. I don't apply it. So then I can even synthesize some of the elements. And I've said this before. I would hope my brothers who are out there, if you're dealing with a belief system and you don't practice it, sort of marginalize your commentary about the defects, the shortcomings, or the faults of the belief system. Because belief systems are practical. And I was about to show you about how people have things, but they don't create them, but they may materialize, at least as far as they can see it, or they can make it manifest. But I want to be clear about something real quick.
Are you responding, incidentally, to the brothers citing of the scriptures?
No, we haven't. Sam Bean's a wonderful gentleman. Mm-hmm. This is an ongoing thing when I hear, even with Dr. Benyan and other people. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to be with Salim. Hopefully, you can let me dialogue about something else. That in the Aramaic and even in esoteric language, there's a difference in the verb to make and to create. To create is more quintessential than it means to make. You can make a cake out of whatever elements, and we call that a cake. But the form of the elements in the very most physical form to create something is something that men don't do. Okay, the verb to make and to create are very, very, very different. And creation is left at a spiritual level. And creation it can be very, very esoteric, abstract, and that verb really confuses people. To create and to make are different verbs.
All right, my brother. All right. I got you. I prefer not to get too pedantic in the scriptural, scripturalism.
I know, but no, it comes up, and I think it's only fair to people. But Salim, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you think this homosexual agenda, that's a liberal agenda, or is that a white supremacist agenda?
I don't know if I would even characterize it as that.
Well, I'm asking you, could you take?
I don't think it's either one. I don't think it's either one.
Oh, really?
I think it fits more of a liberal agenda than.
So you say it's more liberal than it is white supremacist?
I don't even think it's liberal. I'm using that term since you provided it. But
okay, is it progressive then? You use progressive. Is it a progressive thing?
I just think it's a natural human development. That's all. That's the way I put it. Human societies tend to develop no matter what category you want to put over them, you want to superimpose over them. I think humanity reacts in a certain way.
Yeah. Now, one last question: are we having the appropriate analysis on Arizona?
I don't know. What do you think?
I got into an argument with the gentleman out of New York. She's cleared the contract with. Isn't it MSNBC? Now, who was he with?
Who's that?
The Reverend Sharpton. Who gave him that contract? After they put the white guy off the air, it was took of Obama. Who does he have a contract with?
I guess
Sharpton, that cable show, the one he does.
So what's your point? What are you saying? You don't think that Arizona? You don't think that we have the right take on that? Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, Mr. Wells. Appreciate that very much.
We'll follow up Saturday.
Yes, sir. All right. We will be right back. And we're back. 7:52 on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. Salim MuWakkil here. You there? Hey, Steve, how you doing, brother?
Hey, how you doing this evening,
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Hey, I wanted to get your opinion. I know I mentioned this before, but every time the thing about the homosexual movement come up, I always ask the same question. These will be the very same people or organizations that will block bills for black people. And let me simplify that. Now, where's the black gays in this movement when it comes down to our issues, when applying pressure on people like Michael Mannigan or the mayor or Pat Quinn, like when the schools, the whole thing down with the schools, with the Howard Morgan case, with black contracts, where is this powerful lobby when that's going down? Because clearly they couldn't get the civil liberties or this marriage thing without blacks representatives voting and passing and everybody, jumping on this bandwagon and advancing, the movement. So my question always been, where's the support in return with the same powerful lobby that they have? Because I don't see it. And nobody asks those questions, or even with the black gays, when they say, well, they're black gays in that movement too, they benefit from it. Okay, so where's their accountability on making sure that things for the black community is applying pressure on those representatives or Michael Mannigan, whoever it may be, to make sure our things get passed? Where's the lobby?
Yeah, that's a good question, brother, and they need to be held accountable to that. Also, I think it's fair to point out that there are several kinds of gay groups. There are gay groups that are that readily express solidarity with African American issues. More radical gay groups, but there are groups that do that. But the general mainstream gay organizations are not as attentive to their connection to the African American community in terms of their issues, the issues that are important to black people. And I think that you're right. They should be held accountable, man, especially criminal justice issues, all kinds of issues of disparities. Disparities in enforcement of laws and disparities in allocation of resources. They need to be out front with that as well. If they want to forge some sort of allied movement, then they're going to have to reciprocate, no doubt.
Right, because especially when we consider what's going on in this state, clearly the blacks have their back in the backing of blacks. That's the reason why I bring it up.
Most of the black elected officials are progressive, and so they tend to vote in line with views that are pro gay. And so you're right. They tend to support gay issues more so than others do. And so I think there should be some sort of reciprocal understanding there, reciprocal arrangement.
Right, because like I said, we don't want it to be, okay, y'all only, if we're going to talk about human rights and the right to be able to this and opportunities and stuff like that, y'all can't only, that organization, well, let's just say with this specific state, it can't just be about y'all, but then if issues come up or bills come to the floor or whatever it is, then everybody, go head up under a rock and it's not important. That's always been my main problem. You know what I mean? That we're not getting no support back in return because, hey, like you said, they do have a powerful lobby. So I'm just saying, well, okay, well, where's that lobby at? When the bill come to the table for our community.
What about you're right. I'm with you on that, my brother. But what about those who say, look, man, it shouldn't matter if we get reciprocal support. If an issue is an issue, if a principle is right, you have to stand on that principle no matter what. And if your principle is that no American deserves to be discriminated against because of their beliefs or their lifestyle or their, creed or color, then that's the principle. So whether they agree with you or support your issues or not, the principle is that they deserve to be supported, and it shouldn't be contingent on their support of you.
Right.
How do you respond to that?
I would say that's the point that I'm making. We understand that we have your back, and when you say, hey, y'all want to have the right to marry, y'all should have the right to marry, y'all should have, and that's true. We have that backing, but we also have issues too that we also need an extra push to make things go through for us. And what I'm saying
and
is,
the principle should be the same for them. If the principle is the principle for us, it should be a principle for them as well. You're saying
exactly.
Okay, brother.
Exactly.
Good point you make.
You have a good one, Slade.
All right, Steve. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, and that is that's another aspect of this. There are folks who agree with the idea that gay people should not be discriminated against. In fact, it's unconstitutional if you read it in a serious way. But there should be some reciprocal arrangements made that since we both are the products of movements, and our legislative progress is a product of our social movements and our political mobilization, we should demand similar kinds of attention to political mobilizations for the behalf of African American issues. That seems fair, right? Seems fair to me. I don't understand why some would think it's unfair. The principle is the same, as Brother Steve points out. And if the principle is the same for black legislators to support gay rights, it should be the same in the opposite direction, right? All right. We'll be back, discuss this issue and many more right after this. 808, Salim MuWakkil here on the Talk of Chicago. 1690 WVON. Brother Dwight Hotep.
Brother Salim.
Yes, sir.
When Mr. Wells calls and, he is very clear that he's a Messianic Hebrew, and I believe he elicited from you one day that you are not a practicing Muslim.
Yes.
So, for somebody who knows that, knows what both of you all do or don't believe in, when you all call in and give the Arabic greeting, it sounds absolutely ridiculous. And I have told him that and asked him to stop. And I asked you and him again to cut it out. It sounds terrible.
Why does it bother you, Dwight?
Well, he's not a Muslim. You're not a Muslim. I kind of have issues with Arabs, it's just very grating to me to hear you guys greet in that Arabic tongue.
Would you ever say yo or hotep or something that you like?
Both of those sound better.
Okay, to you, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, brother.
Yes.
I just want you to realize, that is a idiosyncratic perception on your part.
Look. I know. Look, he was at my house twice this week. I know he don't even like it himself.
Okay.
I guess he found himself doing an homage to you, with a greeting that from a practice in a language that you don't even subscribe to. Anyway, I'm wasting time.
Language is not a religion. Peace, expressions of peace. That's what he seems to be doing. Uh-huh.
Well, why don't you say how Hitler or something is? Language matters. Okay, look, in a phase a very fortunate phase in my life, I was able to fall in with a contemporary dance company. Can't dance a step, but I went and went to this concert, and it had parts of the troops from the Dance Theater of Harlem. I remember there was some people there from Los Angeles and Dallas, and they had this big dance. I forget what you call it, but, a bunch of different companies. And they had a reception afterwards, and I went to the reception, and all the guys was on one side and all the ladies was on the other side. These dancers have the most beautiful, incredible bodies, and when they changed out of their costumes and put on their regular clothes, they was just so revealing, and these just spectacularly beautiful black bodies. Oh my goodness!
Ooh, brother,
but all the guys was over on the other
just
side.
Talking about it.
And with my dumb self, I said, I was over there by the guys, they was over there by the food, and I said something about, man, why y'all ain't over there on them ladies? And they all about threw up. They was all gay, every single one of them, everyone. And I'm saying that to say, among contemporary dance and artistic and creative people, over here, it's a whole lot of homosexuality. So then. Oh, and look, them ladies.
Do you think? Tell me this, Brother Dwight, because this was a big issue during the '60s, during the period when, for example, when Imam Baraka had something called the Spirit House Movers in Newark, New Jersey. There's a lot of brothers who like to dance and like to express theatrical kind of gestures, but yet. Were they to do that, it would seem to be a gay kind of behavior, gay gestures. Like we were talking about earlier about these brothers in Africa who hold hands. When we first saw that.
I'm going there. I'm trying to go there.
You know what I'm saying? You hear what I'm saying, though?
Yes, sir.
That it's not so much that gay people do this, is just that we classify artistic expression as something that is not masculine in this culture.
No, these guys love having sex.
Oh no, I got you. I understand what you're saying about that. But you were saying, but you were extrapolating to say that in these kind of artistic communities, you find that there seems to be a lot of gay dudes in it. That's your point. That's the point you're making, right?
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely, yes. Okay, so anyway, comparing that with, I had some members of the Nigerian National Dance Company stay at my house.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, I was dating one of the ladies, and it was another couple. There was many others, but not all of them was at my house. So we was at this party. And it was.
I've seen that dance company. Those ladies, every one of them was a star.
Yes, they were. Oh man. Anyway, we went to this party, and a debate broke out about the African American men were saying Michael Jackson and Prince, they're gay, and the African American women were saying, oh, you guys are just jealous because they're pretty boys. So the next day. The Africans and I were standing near my house, and we saw this guy, obviously a homosexual, flaming, switching up the street. So I'm like, see that guy? See how he's walking? So then they are, Dwight, you see gay where there is no gay. Oh, really? Okay, we going out tonight. That night, I took him to the parking lot of a gay bar. I'm giving the short version. So eventually, these two guys come out, and they got in a truck behind us in one space over. Don't turn around. We was being incognito. I'm adjusting the mirror so we can all look and all that. So eventually, they started, having sex. When they saw that, look, they didn't even believe it was such a thing as a gay. When they saw that, forget the incognito, they all in unison screamed as loud as they could, and we had to take off. And so I'm saying, just because you're a dancer, over here, the gay dancers congregate over there, they don't believe it.
No, I got you, and that was kind of the point I was making.
Boko Haram. I haven't looked, but I haven't seen any evidence that they are doing proxy battles for Western entities. I'm not saying that that's not happening, but I am saying that, and I've said this to you before, and then I don't think you bought it, that they are in the same, they are operating in the same area of the Sokoto Caliphate. They up there around the Sokoto state in northern Nigeria, where the jihads of a couple of centuries ago by Usman Dan Fodio and Umar Tal and Mohammed Bello. These were some absolutely nutcase Muslims who was doing the same stuff that Boko Haram is doing, and they've been doing it for a couple of hundred years up there in northern Nigeria. And, you know, it's a part of their stupid African Islam. This is not new.
Well, what are some of the name of these groups? The groups that you're talking about with that tradition.
Okay, I can't. You know, it's been a while since I read it.
Yeah, well, just give me one of their names.
The people who were the leaders were Usman Dan Fodio.
Oh yeah, I'm hip to Dan Fodio.
And his son was Mohammed Bello. They were the founders of the Sokoto state. And man, I mean, these guys, they did some of the most atrocious things in Africa. But, you know, African politics are very, 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 very violent. But, you know, these guys took it to a whole nother level in the name of Islam. They were saying that the animists or whatever, I know you got another name that you call them, but that they were, what was it?
Pantheists.
Pantheists, yeah. Okay, so even the African Muslims that surrounded the Sokoto state, they said they were insufficiently Islamic, so they waged jihad on them and enslaved them and sold them off to Arabia or sold them off to America. But these nutcase, what's the name now? Boko Haram. I mean, they are they have identical behavior as them guys from a couple of hundred years ago. So, you know, maybe Western entities, you know, they are. So
you think they have a tradition? Huh? They are of a tradition. Huh?
Oh,
all right.
Absolutely.
So those people who say that they are the agents of some other provocateurs, you don't think that they think they're barking up the wrong tree?
It may be some of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Malcolm CI, the
right.
The cast
capitalize on the tendency.
Yes, sir. All right, my brother. Thank you, Dwight.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, man.
All
right, but for Dwight, so don't let the language bug you, brother Dwight. A lot of people don't like Hotep. You know, they think that that's a bogus greeting. But that's what we do. Hey, brother DC, how you doing?
Good evening, Salim.
How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. Salim, first of all, I would like to say the homosexual agenda does not, me personally, does not deserve the energy that it's given. But with that said, if you want to find out who's behind the agenda of the movement of the gays, all you have to do is look who's funding and financing the movement and who's heading it. And if it's the one and the same, Salim, then you've ID'd who's behind the agenda.
Have you ID'd them?
Yes, but I would prefer tonight, Salim, not to get into that.
Okay.
Okay, but I would like to comment on an earlier caller who called in and stated that they raised a question, a biblical question, and also they raised the issue that they were suspicious of another radio host on another radio station. Okay.
Al Sharpton, you mean?
No. Well, I'll put it this way, Salim. I listen to the very same radio station that this caller suspect the host suspicious of, and this caller calls this radio station quite frequently, so I can only conclude that he listens to this host who he's very suspicious of. Okay, and he also raised that issue with that host, Salim, about Genesis. In addition, he also raised the issue of being confused about the word tempt in the Bible. Okay, I called in and I led him to the concordance and to the Hebrew and explained the different meanings of the word tempt in Hebrew. And my suggestion to that brother Salim is that if you have a confusion about the Bible, and I would only assume that you're searching the Bible for understanding, is to go to the people of the Bible. Find you a good Hebrew Israelite brother. And if you have any questions about that Bible, to give you understanding and clarity.
All right.
All right, Salim. Have a good night.
All right, brother. Thank you. Brother DC. And I tell you one thing, those Hebrews sure know the Bible, brother. If you look at those observe their street rituals, and how they have one brother reading out the scriptures. He reads out the scriptures, and then the brother interpolates and kind of explains what it means. And then he may tell him to read a specific, scripture, and the brother will do it. And they know this stuff. They know it. Well trained in their interpretation of what that scripture means. No doubt about it. Will, good evening. How are you, my brother?
Good evening, Salim. Do you think good evening will be sufficient? Good evening, Salim. Good evening to the viewing family.
Yes, sir.
Salim, on a lighter note, I want to run over a couple of things that I saw looking up something else. Does the name E. Russell Smith, a.k.a. Noodles, mean anything to you?
E. Russell Smith.
A.k.a. Noodles.
In the movie Harlem Nights?
It was, yeah. Okay. He was referred to in there, I believe. But, okay, since you hit on it, I'm going to get it out there. He was an entrepreneur and a black gangster that carried the jazz and nightclub scene in Seattle, Washington during the 20s and the 30s.
Okay.
I mean, he literally owned all of the nightclubs
in Seattle,
and up and down the West Coast up there during the 20s and the 30s. And he was also an entrepreneur, and he was such a good guy. He was kind of like Bumpy Johnson. He would lend money to people to start businesses and to help people to buy houses and whatnot. And if the businesses would fail, he would buy the businesses from the people at a fair price and sometimes at a profit and turn them into a working entity. And the white gangsters got so mad at him until they got the police to help them put him out of business. He had an infamous club called the Tan and the Black and Tan Club. That was a jazz club.
I've heard about that.
Seattle. Yes. And it catered to both blacks and whites. And this man was a hell of an entrepreneur. And he partnered with a guy called, I think his name was Bill Williams. They called him Black. And
so what was his full name? His nickname was Noodles. What was his full name?
His full name was E. Russell Smith. That I remember. Yeah, E. Russell Smith. Okay. And they called him Noodles because they said that he only had enough money in his pocket to buy a bowl of noodles. So he never carried cash, just enough to get him a bowl of noodles. But he was an entrepreneur, and the black people especially loved him. And the white people put him out of business. He just died in the 50s, back here in the 50s, 51, 52, somewhere in that that era. But he was a black gangster that did not play. So he didn't take none from nobody, but he wasn't a harsh man. And moving right along, Salim, you might be...
That's your version of Black History Month, huh?
Yes. This is all in Black History Month.
Right,
one other guy. Now, you might be familiar with Leonard Harper.
Leonard Harper.
He's a Chicagoan that moved to New York, ended up in New York during the 20s and the 30s, and he was a dancer. He was given the title as the father of the cabaret. And I guess most people know what a cabaret is. He had some internationally known group of young, beautiful black women dancers that were called Harperettes, I believe. And they went all abroad, all over America, not just the chitlin circuit, all over America, and he was doing very, very well. And he started a dance studio in New York. He started a dance studio in New York called Harper Studio. I remember that. And some of the well-known people came through there. And one of the most well-known ones was Fred Astaire. Fred Astaire studied up under this man, this black man. You understand? And he's
surprised I haven't heard his name.
Leonard Hopper, Leonard. I have to pronounce it the way I see it. You know, I'm a Southern boy, and we were taught, you know, Leonard. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Leonard Hopper. It's a book called Rhythm for Sale. It's written by his nephew, and it's about him. It's about not his nephew, his grandson. It's about his grandfather, Leonard Hopper, and he gives a detailed history of his father. And this guy also
Fred Astaire came through, huh?
He introduced Mr. Harper introduced the Duke of Ellington to the Cotton Club. This man used to run the Cotton Club.
Harper did? Leonard Harper?
Yes, he did. He met the Duke at a rooming house they were staying at somewhere in the South, and he liked the Duke, and he told the Duke, well, come on, you know, when I go back to New York, I'm going to see that you come and perform at the Cotton Club. And he was manager of the Cotton Club at the time, and that's how Duke got introduced to the jazz scene in New York. Satchmo, he had Satchmo, Count Basie, Cab Calloway, Mae West, and he could dance so well, Mae West tried to get him into some film.
Come up and
he was a very prolific dancer. He and his wife. Oh yeah, for the brother, he wasn't gay, man. He had a wife and a whole bunch of children.
He was a dancer, but he wasn't gay.
Man, since, these are some things
you say no homo, as they say, right?
Yeah, no, man. He wasn't gay. He had a wife and children. He was, and he died at an early age, though. But he is known as the father of cabaret. He brought that. He made other people had done it, but not like he did. He's the one that put it on the map.
Leonard Harper. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All right, my brother.
All right, Will. Brother Will, that's some good black history there, you know. Hey, let's go to Ellis. What's up, Ellis? How you doing?
Yes, Brother Salim, thank you for taking my call.
You are quite welcome.
I would like to comment on the white supremacist promotion of homosexuality.
Okay.
I agree with Siddiqui and Mr. Wells that this is an agenda designed to destroy the world black community by separating the black men from the black women. Okay. Being that we are a superficial thinking people, we can't see this movement for what it is. This society always has been and is anti-black male. And the entire world is anti-black male because of our genetic potential. And white men don't quite have the physical dexterity.
The genetic potential, do you mean the genetic potential to annihilate?
That is absolutely correct. Ms. Welsing makes that point all the time, and it's an absolute fact.
Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
That is correct. Now, this is the reason we have this huge black incarceration rate. And while these black men are being incarcerated, the black women are being influenced to deal among themselves. And this creates lesbianism. But this was not our historic way of living. This is the reason that the African nations are rejecting this. This is something that comes out of the Greco-Roman era. And throughout European history, they've always had a problem, you know, with physical dexterity. This is the reason you have these substances on the market like Viagra and Cialis and things like that to try to strengthen them.
Oh, you mean you're talking about sexual prowess?
Sexual prowess. Well, where do you think human beings come from?
Okay,
you have to have.
I'm not debating. I'm just asking. I just want you to clarify. When you said physical dexterity, you're using a euphemism, right?
what I'm trying to say is this, is that this is the reason that, they've always feared that, and I think I called you a couple of weeks ago, and I cited the example of Commander Byrd's forcing confession from black men, and what part of the body did he concentrate on? That was the genitals. And when they hang black men, what part of the body did they concentrate on? And when we see all of these games with, black men showing their physical prowess, this is frightening to the European world.
Yes, sir.
So they want to bring us down, and
So you think they have an anti-phallic? They have an anti-phallic mission. That's
absolutely. It's always been, and I don't know why most black men don't quite understand this. This is the reason they're trying to describe us as criminals. Anything that's negative, because they're obscuring the fact that they really fear us and they revere us. My brother, thank you for letting me make those comments.
All right, thank you, Ellis. Appreciate it, man. It's not unreasonable what the brother's saying, and we will be back to hear what other folks are saying. And we're back. 8:36 on the Talk of Chicago. Salim MuWakkil here. We're going right back to the phones. Brother, I think this is Telly Imani. Hey, my brother, how are you, sir?
All praise is due to God.
Yes, sir.
Peace to you and the African community.
All right, my brother.
I wish to ask one thing. Well, actually, I got two questions for you. One, the first one is this. Irishmen come from Ireland. British come from Britain. Africans come from Africa. China comes from Chinese. Chinese come from China. Japanese come from Japan. Where do lesbians and homosexuals come from? Since they want to compare themselves to the civil rights movement, I don't understand. If they are Polish, they're not getting discriminated against. If they are Irish, they're not getting discriminated against. If they're German, they're not getting discriminated against. But where is lesbian land? I've never heard of it before. There's no, I looked on the map. I tried to find a geographical location. I had the United Nations to mail me some information. They themselves said there's no such place. I don't understand. Where is it at? Secondly, the law of God is the most powerful law in the universe. And there's no law. I don't care what law man makes. Jesus told one of his disciples, give to Caesar what is Caesar, but you always must give to God what is his. God himself created man and woman, woman and man. He left an order for us to do. Be fruitful, become many. I need to know, and you also made a statement once, 2 months ago. You said that, I know, I tried to look this up. 2 women could have a baby. I never saw that. I know anything about that.
I don't know if you heard, I don't know why. I don't know if you heard me say that. I can't imagine myself saying that. I don't, because that's not true. Unless it's artificial insemination, that's the only way.
Well, even they would have to get the sperm from a male. Because some guy called in, and he was talking about.
I don't believe that. I don't think that's possible. So I don't think I said it. If you think I said it, or.
Well, it was like a month ago. Go back in your log.
I don't have to go back in my log. Tell you I don't believe it. I wouldn't have said it because I don't think it's possible. Why would I say something I don't believe is possible?
Well, I'm not going to argue the point.
All right.
The last one is this. There is a conspiracy. Last year, a very, very rich white man He was a homosexual. He bequeathed every penny he had, over $1 billion, to help homosexuals get laws passed. This is just last year, and he died of AIDS.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just address the first thing that you said about where's the country and all, and you know, is there a homosexual country? No, I don't think. But see, I don't think that's the issue. When people are I'm hearing feedback. Telly, is there something you could do about that, brother? Because I can't even hear my voice. Telly?
Well,
no, I'm saying, okay, the connection that people are making to the civil rights movement is that it is against the civil rights, is against the constitutional rights of any American to be discriminated against for any reason. That's how they compare it to the civil rights movement, not because it's from not because they have a nationality or they're from another country.
What I'm saying,
it's just like, for example, if you are one denomination of a Christian church and you feel that you're discriminated against by some other denomination, you can make a constitutional objection that you are being discriminated against because of a specific belief that you have.
But you must have a geographical location.
Not necessarily.
What happened, if this person is a German?
A Presbyterian doesn't have to have a geographical location if they have a problem with an Episcopalian.
If he's discriminated against, he or she must have a geographical location. The geography of lesbianism, homosexualism does not exist. There is a constant, that's like one of your last callers say, the conspiracy against black males. Because black males dominate. They dominate.
Yes, sir.
Look, in China and all places, when black men was over there and they had sex with women, some of those people looked just like they were black. They couldn't say a word of English.
All right, brother. I got you. I hear your point, man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you, Telly. Good point. All right. Debatable point, let me say. Yusuf, good evening. How are you doing, my brother?
Yes, good evening, brother. And
I'm hearing I'm hearing feedback from you too. Maybe it's here. Maybe it's on this end that we have that problem.
I'm sorry. What
Hello,
was that, brother? Yes, sir.
No, I was getting feedback. Okay, now it's cool.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's cool now.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Walaikum salam.
You know, you have some very interesting callers.
For real.
Brother, it seems to take issue with you using the salutation of peace, and you know, and that's the only meaning of Assalamu alaikum is peace be unto you. And
correct.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, man. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But you know, brother, this whole idea, I follow you on Facebook, okay. And your postings get real interesting, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, brother. But I enjoy them, you know. There's a lot of brothers, and you know, people make a lot of good points on each side, no matter, you know, each side. And I found it really interesting. The one with the, I think it was the Ugandan king who,
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The Ugandan king who I think he signed a law banning homosexuality.
Oh yeah. The president of Uganda.
Yes.
Museveni. Yes, sir. Museveni.
Right, and that was a very interesting dialogue.
Oh,
and the thing, yes, it got pretty heated. And, you know, and it's good until it becomes personal. You know, in many instances,
that's always a problem, man. When folks want to get personal, you know.
Yeah, but I enjoy the dialogue. It's really, you bring up some good posts. I share them in many instances, just, the people with my pages, and they're very interesting. And even when I put them on my wall, they're they get heated. Yes, sir. So keep doing it, brother. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that,
All right, brother.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah, brothers. I mean, those Facebook posts, man, they folks respond. Let's go to Hassim. How are you, my brother? Hassim?
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, sir. And it's Hashim.
Hashim. All right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just wanted to say, I'm a first-time caller, but
hey, welcome, man. Welcome, brother.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm like a troll. I listen all the time, but I never chime in. But
don't say troll. Say troll. Just say you monitor.
I had an issue with the greetings, and it just seems to me like we're so far gone from, but so close to knowledge of history, of embracing a culture that was once ours. And it seems to me that we have straw man arguments when it comes to why we disagree with in opposition or opposing views. It's a straw man argument.
I totally agree with you, brother. Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
And it's like, and for me, I'm 33. Okay, I'm a young brother. I listen in to learn. So a lot of times I have to get my pen and paper out to take notes because you brothers get so heavy that I have to come back.
Brother, you don't know how happy I am to hear you say that, brother. Thank you, man. That you continue to listen, man. I really appreciate that,
yes,
brother.
Sir. Oh yes, sir. And I tell brothers. I tell my brothers. I'm in a little motorcycle club, and I tell everybody I come in contact with. I come in contact with hundreds of people a day, and I'm always telling everybody or trying to give them a piece of some kind of knowledge. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Especially come listen to WVON. Yes, and that kind of leads me to what I wanted to say. But like a lot of times when I'm hearing a lot of brothers here, even like today, even talking about the gay issue. You know what I'm saying? And talk about the lobbyists and how they got the lobbyists and wham. Mm-hmm. It becomes, to me, an intellectual. It becomes an intellectual complaining, and it's no one saying, "Well, this is the solution." And then when someone does come with the solution, we don't jump on that bandwagon. We always argue about, they got they lobbyists and they're pushing this agenda. Well, how do people push their agenda? We talk about it every day. Mm-hmm. And every day. Yes. Money. Right? Right? They put their money together. They got Jews. They got, what they call it, the ADL, Anti-Defamation League. That's formed by Jews. That's Jews. Ain't no black folks in there. Ain't no Asians in there. That's not my guy. Ain't nobody pushing them to be a part of their group. Why everybody want to be a part? Why do black men want to always be a part of everybody's group? You know what I'm saying? That don't make no sense to me. I'm only 33. I may not be mature enough to understand that, but I look at it differently. I look at it, do for yourself. Be a community. Let's learn how to love each other. Let's learn how to pool our money together. I can put up $20 a year. I was listening to Minister Farrakhan. It's $18, 25 cents, 20 cents.
Did you hear him in Detroit? Did you hear him in Detroit?
Yes,
sir. Okay.
That's why. Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
It touched a part of me, where it was unusual. It's like I never heard the minister speak like that. I was in Detroit.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I never been able to be somewhere where the minister got like he got.
Right, well, you experienced something a lot of brothers have experienced. They've been touched personally by that brother in ways that no one else can do.
Right. But and more people need to at least give a moment. Give a moment and to digest. A lot of the. You don't have to agree with everything he's saying, but this last speech in Detroit, he bridged the gap to me. I had a lot of my Facebook friends watch a little part of the speech, and they was astounded. They didn't understand that that's what he taught.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
a lot of people didn't understand what he taught. You know, so that's another thing. My whole thing was this whole gay thing. I think that's your subject for tonight.
Well, I mean, you know, our subject is whatever folks bring up, man, and it appears that that's what they wanted to talk about. Look, but I got to go, man. I got a little bit of time. I'm trying to get these other folks on before we finish up. Thanks for calling, man. And call again, please. Yeah? All right.
Yes, sir, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. All right, let's go to Anita. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay. I didn't hear your whole show, but I wanted to say something about the guy on Single Ladies that Lisa Ray plays on. Wait a minute now.
Go
They
ahead.
call Omar the gay. I'm really ticked off at Christians for that. Why does the name have to be Omar and he had to be gay?
All right.
Elijah Muhammad was not gay. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
That really ticked me off. And as far as the greeting is concerned, I feel a lot of peace and relaxation and rest when I'm able to tell my brother Assalamu alaikum. That means that's the highest sense of security that you can give anybody, to know that God is going to take care of them and try to keep them and will keep them at peace. So I don't know if somebody says something negative about that, but I'm going to continue to greet you, brother.
Thank you.
All
And
right.
I will continue to return the greetings. Thank you,
And I don't like that with the Omar on Lisa Ray's show. That's the only thing I don't like about Single Ladies. I don't think it's funny either.
All right, Anita. Thank you. Well, I'm sorry. I think it's funny. Mike, let's go. How you doing, brother? How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Swing? I didn't know that Omar, the name belonged to any particular group.
Yeah.
It seems as though your last caller thought it was an exclusive Islamic or Arabic name. That ain't so.
That's right.
So I don't know where you got that. You know what really insults me is this Jennifer Hudson playing an iconic black queen. That really, I take that as a personal insult, that someone who occupies the vessel of a Jennifer Hudson, which is a very weak, shallow vessel, would play the
But can't
part.
she be an actress? Maybe.
Pardon me?
Can't she be an actress? Or can't she portray the part? That's what actresses do.
Well, Salim, I think
Or actors. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say
I
actors.
can say it. She is definitely acting because her vessel. If you put the spirit of a Winnie Mandela into the vessel of a Jennifer Hudson, she would probably die of a heart attack at 10.
Okay.
Because that kind of weak, shallow vessel can't hold a spirit that awesome. And again, it's highly insulting, and it should be for all black people to have someone. I'm really surprised that how well she hides her whiskers and tail.
Wow, brother. All right, Mike. Thank you.
Have
Mike.
a good one.
All right. I don't know why I guess it makes some of us feel good when we disparage other people. It's a mystery to me. Mike, good evening. How are you?
Great. How you doing, Salim?
I'm well, brother.
Great. Yeah, I want to mention something quickly about the gay issue, but when it comes to the nation and Minister Louis Farrakhan and their way of living in America under the conditions that they lived on, even back in the 60s and even farther back than that. And if we can just tap into that just a little bit, my faith is in Christ, but my belief is in the way. And when you study the movement of the nation and how they come together as one people, in spite of their circumstances, and live to love each other, if some of my Christian brothers and sisters can really tap into that, I think our movement as black people can really spread out. So I really just want to mention that. But the gay issue, I think when we speak about this, and I mentioned this before, we're speaking apples and oranges. I heard when you mentioned the statement that if you're part of a certain religion, then you should have the right, according to the law, when you're a religion, if someone else is part of another religion, even if they're an atheist, which is a religion, they should have the same rights that you have, which is also true. And the reason why is because these are certain things that the government has said that we have the right in, but these are also things that you choose.
That's right.
But I don't see the connection between homosexuality and black people, because being black is not a choice. homosexuality is.
That's true. I mean, there's distinct differences in the existential condition of the two. You know, black people have not just skin color, but an entire history that defines us, especially African Americans. And gay people a different thing. Some of them, there have been some black, some African American gays who have gone through the same thing, but that's another issue.
Right.
But that's not the issue. The issue is whether the state can discriminate against a people because of a certain quality of them. And that's the issue. That's where it's similar to African Americans. That's where it's a civil rights. But the actual content of the difference is absolutely miles apart. But the effect of the discrimination is the same.
Right. I mean, you know, is there is discrimination here in Illinois between older men and younger women? Did you know that if you're like, say you're 30 years old and you want to be with a 15-year-old girl, there's a discrimination.
Well,
now, if you're
because statutory rape provisions.
Exactly. Right. Which is a lot. Now, biblically, if a woman is past her flower, she is, you know, she has the right to marry. Past her flower means if she's like having menstrual.
And that's a perfect example, man. The Bible was written during the Axial Age, which was and not only the Bible, but most of Abrahamic scriptures. They were written during the Axial Age when all societies were agrarian, and we had certain cultural norms that were completely different than the norms that attend to a post-industrial age.
Right. True. Now, but the people are still the same. You know,
no. We do. At one point, we used to eat people's hearts because we thought that we would get courage from doing that. That was conventional wisdom, brother. You know?
Right. I'm not saying the activity of the people are the same. I'm saying the people. You know, like my body compared to someone's body back. That's right. It's still the same. So if I take a young lady who is, say, 12 or 13 who's past a flower back then.
But see, you got to remember, brother, our lifespan was much shorter. We had to mate earlier in order to reproduce because we didn't live that long. If you didn't get a girl early, you might have missed your chance to procreate. And so,
Right. But biblically, you had people that live over 120 years old. But
34,
but I don't want to get into
years
that.
old, brother. You know.
Okay, right. But my point is that, you know, if you choose to be with someone intimately, if that's your choice, then no one can stop you from doing that. Now, but you can't say I should marry this person because of discrimination and use that example and say, well, a black person has the right to do what they do because of their skin color. If you choose to do that, then that's your choice. And until we fix this argument when it comes to homosexuality as being a choice on who they love or something they're born with, because I think that's the argument. The argument is not choice.
Well, there are a lot of Catholics who they weren't born Catholics, but does that mean you can discriminate against Catholics because they weren't born that way?
No. Okay, right. Being Catholic is a choice. Now, according to your government, that's the freedom of religion. But you don't have to be Catholic. You can be a Jew, or you can be a Muslim, you can be a Christian.
That's right. But you weren't born that way. That distinction would mean that why should you have to be born homosexual in order to be protected?
No. You can have rights. I mean, we the people choose that.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it, man. I didn't mean to take this that long, my brother.
Okay,
you got me going. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the call.